Hello everyone, thanks for joining. In the next 1.5 hours, we are going to see how to use AI in Office. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat window, or rather the Q&A window. I have posted one link. I just want to know about the audience, so please fill that form. It's just 2 questions. What is your role? And one more question. Now, this looks like a very simple slide, but I have intentionally kept it like this because we are going to start with how AI can help us do many things, including how to create better presentations. Now we are talking about AI in Office, of course. So Mahesh, are you able to see the link and is it working? Because I have not got any response. Or should I post it again?
Yes, I am able to see the link.
Okay, I'll post it again just to be sure. All right. So let people provide the responses. We'll go ahead. Now, when it comes to AI, today I'm not going to talk about any programming. I'm going to talk about AI which is already included and it is growing day by day in Office. So can we have the demo screen only and not the video so that people can appreciate the screen? If you have a choice, see it on desktop rather than on the mobile phone. So let's get started. A quick introduction of what I do. Many of you may know me already, but just a quick one. This was my setup when I started a 16 KB machine, but now in COVID days, I have upgraded myself. We have to because everything is online. Now, Mahesh has made this full screen. In your case, try to make your screen full screen so that you can appreciate the demos. We are going to go product by product and see how this can work for us to our advantage. Let's start with Office itself. And I'm going to move out of this right now because most of it is demos. I'm going to create a simple presentation. All of you make PPTs, we insert pictures, and many of you may be developers. All of us know that alt text is required. Whenever we put a picture, ideally there should be alt text for people with visual disabilities. Many a times we forget to do that. For SEO, we may put it, but in fact there are plugins which just put some title randomly. That doesn't really serve the purpose. People who have genuine difficulties in vision should have proper alt text. So that is very nicely done by Office, not just PowerPoint, but Office. So I'm going to insert a picture and let's see how it works. So I'm going to insert a picture from the device. I'm intentionally not taking stock art from Microsoft because then you will say that already had a alt text. So I'm going to go to pictures I have taken and we will paste something. So notice as soon as you paste the picture, AI applies machine learning and detects it. Now it is saying runway because clouds are not very clear here. Let's try something else. And it works quite well. In fact, in Ignite this time for image recognition, Microsoft AI has achieved human parity, if you remember. So let me add one more and then we'll go to the next one. So this time we will add something more complex. Plain is an easy thing to manage. Let's try something else. Now notice it also understood it is on top of tarmac. All text is available here and it also has this thing called description automatically generated. This is also important because the person who is using a screen reader should know that this is not a human created one. so that if there is a mistake, they can triage it. So that's very simple but extremely effective. Now, while we are at alt text, pictures, alt text comes automatically across Office, but for charts, which is a very common element in presentations or documents, you have to put alt text manually. Let's proceed further. Now, there is ink to text as well, and ink to text works differently in different situations. Ink to text actually originally came with OneNote, but now it's available in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, everywhere. So if you type text, notice we have three options now: ink to text, ink to shape, and ink to math. So let me show you ink to text. You have to select it and then say ink to text. Now I am a doctor, so obviously it doesn't understand, but even if it doesn't understand it initially, it learns because it's machine learning. That's something you should try. But there is something even more interesting when it comes to ink to text in OneNote. So I'm going to show you that. In OneNote, this has been a feature for many years actually, but let me show it to you anyway. In OneNote, ink to text works exactly the way you would expect. And for OneNote ink to text to work properly, it is better to write horizontally. How do we do that? You go to ruler lines, put some ruler lines. They are not hard coded. You can remove them later. And now this should work much better. I'm intentionally writing in bad handwriting. And then again, we have ink to text, and we have another one called ink to math, which is absolutely interesting. I don't know if you have tried it before, and this works beautifully, much more beautifully on Windows 10 app. OneNote comes in two flavors. One is the desktop app, which stopped further development in 2016, but still a part of Office. OneNote on all platforms is completely free. You don't need any subscription from Microsoft for that, by the way. So you should install Windows 10 app for this feature. So when you go to OneNote, you will see Windows 10 app and normal OneNote. So I'm going to start the Windows 10 app now. What is special about this? So I'm going to show you something simple. So I'm writing. I wrote an equation. Now what do? You lasso it, and then there is a math button. This is not there so sophisticated in the Windows base desktop version. This is only in this. So look at the actions saying, do you want to solve for X? And it will solve if possible. I didn't understand this properly. We can fix it. We can correct it. We can do it whatever way. So I'll give you another example. Create. I'm writing a matrix. Now you select it. It understands all this, and because it's a matrix now, it gives me different options. So I'm saying invert the matrix or calculate trace, whatever it is. And if it feels like, sometimes it even gives you options for creating a maths quiz. So this is really interesting. If you are into maths, especially for kids, this is really useful. This is also built in AI. Now let's go to Office Mobile. I'm not going to show you a demo because switching devices is a painful thing on a live event, but I will show you a couple of screenshots which will help you understand how powerful that is on the mobile as well. So what happens on mobile? Mobile has Excel app, and we have a separate Office app as well. So if you have not tried it, try the Office app. It includes a combined version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint in one app. So in that there is an actions button, and one of the actions is image to table. So you take a photo, crop it, and it directly goes into Excel. So serious data entry can be done on this because mobile resolution of cameras is much better now. So take a proper photo. It actually understands tabular data. Little bit of changes or editing will be required in most cases, but it saves a lot of real manual data entry. It's not just a show off demo. You should use it for any kind of data entry. Try it out at least. And then finally data goes in Excel after editing. It's a beautiful feature. Now, while we are at Excel, let's finish Excel from the point of view of AI. AI has been there in Excel for quite some time. There is one feature which is not really AI, it's sort of algorithm discovery, but I'm still going to cover it because it's a very useful feature. So what is that feature I'm talking about? I'll show you the demo first, then I'll tell you the name of the feature. So here is Excel. I know I'm going fast, but doesn't matter. If you have any questions, just keep posting them. We will see how many questions we can handle in the allotted time. So this is not really an AI thing, but there is a feature which is really useful for cleanup, and it's available as a part of Excel itself as well as Power Query in Excel Plus in Power BI. So here typically if I want to split the column, I would do text to columns, but instead what do? You just give an example and press a button, magical button, and it does it. That magical button may not always do the magic correctly because it's finally doing pattern matching. It's finding regular expressions, which is the most suited pattern, and then it is applying that pattern. For example, here, if I try that magical button, it made a mistake because it doesn't know what is going on in my mind. It is trying to decipher what I want. So it thinks that I want uppercase characters. So FT is the example I gave. That's why it only kept M. But what I really wanted was MGMT. The system doesn't know it right now. It made a mistake. So you go to the first mistake it makes and correct it. Then it thinks again and generally does a good job. Sometimes 3 or 4 examples may be required. Now the same feature is available in Power Query as column by example. And the same feature is also available in the Power Query import dialog, where you can give a pattern and it will detect data even from a non-tabular source. So this is a very simple kind of AI, but there is a much bigger, more important part of AI. What is that AI about? Very often we analyze data, and when we are analyzing data, what happens? We have lots of things to do, but we have limited time. So generally, when it comes to data analysis, what we end up doing is if there is some data, let's say, for example, I have this data with 11 columns, 1500 rows. How many reports to create depends on how many reports boss asks for, right? So that's not a good way. That's inefficient. Ideally, we should understand what, how many reports should we create? We shouldn't wait for government or boss or regulator to ask for reports. What we should do is learn all possible useful things from the past so that we can improve the future. Typically, we stop at 4 reports, 5 reports, 12 reports, whatever may be the number. That's not important. The important part is few. Why should we stop at few? It's in our interest to learn all possible useful things. How do we do that? In theory, this sentence looks very nice, but in practice, how do we do that? That's the question. Just give me a second. I'm going to drink water. So in real life, how do we implement this? And that has already been done. So this is the data, few columns, 1500 rows. Click on this button called ideas. What does it do? It uses machine learning, finds correlations across different columns and tries to give you interesting or significant stuff. Exactly how many reports will come depends on the data. For example, this is simple transactional data. Nobody would have made a scatter chart of age versus amount, but this is done. It's showing clearly that large transactions are comparatively rare in older age group. Some reports may be obvious. You may also done a report on month and city, but it also does trending and many other things. So make sure you scroll to the bottom, open all the reports which it has given. It also does time series trend analysis. Now, how many data points does it understand? It's not dependent on number of rows or columns. Its upper limit as of now is 1.5 million cells, not rows, not columns, cells. Now, if you find something useful, you can just click on this. It's either a pivot chart or a pivot table or just a chart, depends on what it is. And once it is inserted, it will add a sheet, it will add the correct data. And now it's a regular pivot table and chart. You do whatever you like with it. Of course, the same functionality is available in Power BI as well. So what does it do? In Excel, it does, these are called ranking, scatter chart and outliers, time series trend analysis, and majority. 4 categories of interpretation is supported in Excel. If you try the same thing in Power BI, which is called Quick Insights in Power BI, it has more capability. It understands all these things. So when you publish a report to Power BI, what does it do? You must have seen it gives you 2 URLs from desktop. If you publish a report to Power BI Cloud, what does it do? 2 URLs come. One is the dashboard itself or the report itself, and the second one is Quick Insights, and this is that. You can always go to a data set, click on the 3 dots and do Quick Insights. These are more comprehensive and cover a lot of complexity. The limit is same 1.5 million cells, and because of that in Power BI you will see a message which says a subset of your data was, but actually if the data is smaller than 1.5 million, it is actually looking at the whole data. The other feature in Power BI which is really nice is Q&A. So let's try our luck for Q&A. Allow me to just open the file quickly. So what does Q&A do? Q&A looks at your data, looks at your parameters, looks at your columns, understands natural language queries and converts it internally into questions which it can answer. So that kind of thing is also really useful. Q&A is also available in Excel, but I'm going to show it to you first in Excel and then in Power BI. So this is Excel. When you get ideas, you also have some questions here. A very large vocabulary can be managed here, but because we have limited time, the demo itself I'm going to show you in Power BI. So the same data essentially I have put in Power BI. So look at the columns first. I have city, state, class of city, type of card used, expense type, gender, month, and under numbers I have amount and age. So that is what. Now what does it say? When you double click here, what does it say? It doesn't even have to select a visual. I just went to the blank canvas and double clicked, and it automatically opens the Q&A panel. Now in the Q&A panel, what can you do? That is the question. In the Q&A panel, you can type in simple natural language. That's the whole idea. So Mahesh and team, if you have any inputs for me while I'm speaking, just put it in the chat window. I'm only monitoring the live event chat window right now. Q&A I will monitor at the end. All right, so I type a question, obviously, and it works. Fair enough, but is there a better way? So let me try my luck. Remember, Windows also has voice recognition, not the Cortana one, not the old one. Now new dictation one is integrated. Windows H is the shortcut. So I make sure I click here and I press Windows H. Amount by gender and state. So first time it does, it goes haywire. Second time, generally it works. Count by state and gender. आज उसका मूड नहीं लग रहा है, कोई बात नहीं. If I type, it understands what it is and tries to automatically give the desired visualization. If you want to change it, then you can always say, I don't want it like this. I want it as a bar chart or matrix or whatever you like. Press enter and it's done. This can understand really, really complex things. There is a large vocabulary this understands. We don't have time to go through it, but I strongly recommend that you look at the vocabulary at least so that you know what kind of questions it is capable of answering. Just look at Power BI Q&A vocabulary. You'll find it. So that's about quick insights and Q&A. But Power BI has many visuals now, which are more interesting. So what are the visuals? Let's look at them one by one. So in Power BI, we have some visuals which have been there for quite some time and some visuals which have been recently introduced. One of the latest ones, which I would say the latest one, is called Smart Narrative. So we have a typical dashboard. This is OK, but look at this. There is something here which allows you to actually interpret the data and try to make people understand it without having to visually take the effort of going to each visual, understanding what is written there. In many cases, the visuals don't have numbers or data labels. So this part was generated automatically. So what do? I'll show you how to do it so that you can start using it. I'm going to delete this visual and add a new one. This is the smart narrative visual. Just add it. That's it. You don't even have to configure it. Make sure you have put everything else there and then just add it. Select it. If the font size is too small, at least for demo purpose, usually you have to increase the font size, and that's it. Now this is interactive, so it does get cross filtered and so on and so forth. That's all there is to it. But that's not actually all. You can add your own values and look at the integration. You can actually add something based on Q&A. So now if I want to know top 3 city. Now notice this is a valid question and answer, but what it's expecting is a value. Oh, OK. Now this is a valid value and there is a problem, so it autocorrects. And then I say save and I can give this value my name. Done. And now this also becomes a part of it. And even this part will be cross filtered as we go along. So it's a very useful visual for describing things. Now, there's another visual which is commonly not known, but I would say it should be included as a part of every review or presentation we do in life. Yes, by all means, you copy paste things in PowerPoint, send it to people, but you should carry at least a primitive dashboard. Even if you don't have a dashboard, just import the same data in Power BI, carry the Power BI along with the PPT. Why? Because it has a live feature. During the presentation, you are going to get different questions. How do we answer the questions? By generally saying, I will get back to you. We don't want to hear that. I want the questions to be answered there and then. So obviously, in case of a dashboard, it's interactive. We know that we can do filtering and all that, but there is more. Suppose I have this only one visual. If I click on anything, it's not going to filter anything because there's nothing else. Then what do? So remember, when in doubt, right click. Sorry. So analyze, explain the decrease. Now this is a very interesting one. It looks at what is plotted which fields or parameters are not plotted, correlates this particular decrease from June to July, and then ranks them in the order of influence on that particular decrease between 2 months, and then shows you the data. It's an amazing feature. Everyone who touches Power BI should know it and use it in day-to-day basis, on day-to-day basis. So it analyzed all other dimensions and found that state is the one which is affecting this most. And amongst the states, it has given you a waterfall chart. Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu contributing to the decrease to maximum extent. All states are going down, but there are too many of them, not enough place to show. So the smaller contributors were shown in yellow, which is other. But this is not all. Remember, all possible useful things we have to learn. So scroll down. The next parameter is gender. The next influencer, so to say, is entertainment, and so on and so forth. So this is live implementation of learning every possible useful thing from the data. This should become a standard operating procedure for you for life. For personal data, corporate data, customers data, doesn't matter. It's in our interest to exploit it fully. And this is how AI with your NI, which is natural intelligence, will help you grow. It's not going to take away jobs, it's going to empower your job, whatever may be your job. So that's about explain the decrease or increase. The other one which is really useful is for exploratory purposes. What does that mean? Most people know their data. Most people know their business. Most people also have a false sense that I know what is happening. Unfortunately, that third conclusion is bad. That's called gut feel, which I'm not saying is wrong. But in addition to gut feel, there is a possibility that something is changing in the data and you have not noticed it yet. So why not understand it proactively? Just give it a try, like we did with ideas. So what is the idea of ideas? Every piece of raw data you have, you must click on ideas button, eyeball them, whichever is interesting, look at it, whichever is not relevant, ignore it. Next time when the data changes, next month, next week, again go to ideas because the correlations have changed. And that is what we generally don't do. So what happens here? I have my business amount is the revenue. So I want to analyze how my revenue gets generated. So that's called the decomposition tree. What happens there? First, the main thing which you want to analyze, which is revenue, and then you want to analyze it by various things. So I'm just adding them here. The order in which you add does not matter. Having done that, now we start a exploratory journey by saying click on this plus sign, and now what do I want to expand it by? So usually in my day-to-day work, I expand it by what? OK, generally I do it by state. OK, you can do that. And then after state, I do it by city. You can do that also. But this is what your experience or your gut feel says. It's not wrong, but why just go by that? There may be something else which you have not noticed. So instead of choosing what to break it down by yourself, let AI help you. Like we saw earlier also it found out the influencer amongst all parameters is doing exactly the same thing. Earlier it was just for one segment from June to July. Here it is looking at the overall amount as the column or field or the measure. So now instead of saying any of them manually, you say the one which has the highest influence. That happened to be class of city. OK, now I want to see class A. What is that influenced by? So again, you choose high value and then it's saying gender. So I'm going on finding high influences. I myself don't know what will be the next column it will choose. So it is now class, gender, expense type, state. Those are the influencer in decreasing order of significance for class A. Now this is dynamic, remember? So if I go to something else, this order will change depending on what is the distribution. It may or may not change, but that's the whole idea. So notice class, gender, expense type, city, class, gender, expense type, city, class, gender, state and expense type. So this is called dynamic exploration of influences within your data. None of the top management people are aware of this, and every person who thinks they know data should do it. You will really get new thought processes, new at least ideas, if not action items, and then you can manage your business better. There is another one called key influences. So what does that do? It generally requires a qualitative kind of thing. So feedback, overall trend, increase or decrease in things. So you say, what am I analyzing? Here I am analyzing number of transactions and analyzing by various parameters. So it's saying if what influences decrease in number of transactions. So if it's classic card is platinum, then it decreases, or card type is signature, it decreases, and so on and so forth. So it keeps on telling you if I change this to increase, now all these will change. So if it's card type silver, there is a higher chance of transactions increasing, and suddenly now age came into picture. So it's doing the mining behind the scenes. It also aggregates data internally and tries to find different segments. Depending on the data, this part may or may not give you results, but it's worth trying it out. Wherever is qualitative data and you want to understand influences, you use the key influences part from Power BI. So that's Power BI. Of course, in Power BI Premium, you get much more sophisticated AI, where just uploading the raw data and creating relationships, it'll try to find out which is the best AI model to apply. But I can't show you the demo of that right now. We are talking consumer level AI for this session. OK, let me see if there are any comments, questions. I will take all the questions at the end. All right, let's go further. Now, when it comes to Word as well, there is a nice feature. Let me show you that part. Now, Word is something probably as techies you may not be using much, but we have to express and might as well express properly and in a professional manner. That's why the editor feature of Word is really useful. So what does that do? I'll give you a few examples. Probably you have already noticed it, but probably you have not noticed one important part from that. So when you go to Word, we have file options and proofing. So when you go to file options proofing, earlier we have seen typical spelling, grammar kind of thing. So when you go to these settings, we are used to the old ones. But now notice today there are 120 plus settings. Some of them you have not even imagined would be there in Word. For example, nowadays when you're writing, communicating, you see you need clarity, you need conciseness, you need inclusiveness, you need gender neutrality, vocabulary, all kinds of things are required. Just give me 1 minute. I have to pause. Hold on. So this is an amazing set of features, but the problem is these checkboxes are not enabled by default. So just go back to your Word and enable all of them. Initially, your life may become a little miserable because you'll see a lot of these three dots at the bottom. But trust me, if you keep correcting them and ignoring the ones which are not relevant to you, your vocabulary, your style of writing and the professionalism with which you write will significantly go up. So take that trouble. Some of these sentences we may not even have noticed have a problem, but life has become tough, so we have to also gear up. So what is it doing? I'll show you a few examples and then we'll go ahead. Young blood is not inclusive. So it actually shows you better suggestions. It's not just giving you warnings. This is obviously wrong. We call actor. Software is very old. Is okay. It's not a problem, but very is a very commonly used word. So incredibly, without worrying about going to thesaurus and seeing 17 options, it gave you the right one. This is a traditional problem. You know that master slave is now a problem. So we call it secondary device. Now look at how intelligent this is. Master slave, it is only giving a problem with slave right now. But the moment I choose this as secondary device, it thinks again and say, oh, this is also a problem. So now primary device. Now this, because this is also based on Bing data, it understands these things also. I've not tried all the city name changes, but most of the big ones generally work. So this now, by the way, is available wherever you are typing. So even if you are typing on Edge, editor is available in Edge. So if you are writing HTML somewhere in some text box or in a page design tool, or you're filling a form on a browser, or you're writing an email on browser in any software, this editor is available. Editor is available across Word, Outlook as well. It's not available in OneNote. So that's editor. There's another small little thing. It basically is Project Cortex. The initiation, I would say, it looks at the data you have, and if you go to references, it tries to find acronyms. So based on what I write, it tries to find, oh, there is something called ACM, and based on my document, it has understood that it is adoption and change management and software as a service. This is not Bing search. This is analyzing your documents across Office 365 tenant and doing it. By the way, most of the AI features I'm showing are cloud connected. That means they will not be available in older or even the newer but desktop only versions of Office. Because although it looks simple, implementation wise, it requires large processing, evolutionary learning, and lots of data that cannot be installed on local machine. So one of the things which is in that category, which is really popular, and probably that is what you would have expected when I said AI in Office, is the PowerPoint features. We'll come back to them very soon. Now there is one useful thing here. In Word, it does not give you writing facility. That means it doesn't give you ink to text. So if you go to ink, yeah, unlike in OneNote, you can have draw option. You can write something, but if you try to write, it just becomes ink. There is no ink to text option. So there is a workaround to that. In Word, there is an option where the pen, if you have the pen, can be used for something different. Different means what? It can be used for what? It can be used for editing or proofreading kind of scenarios. What do I mean by that? Let me just show you one slide and then we'll come back to it. So in Word, once if you have a pen, these are the gestures. Delete word, select word, add a few lines, split word, join word, because they expect that if you are writing a Word document, you will have to type. In OneNote, writing notes is OK because you're not writing every word which someone said. But in word processing, writing and converting is not really popular. That's why this works. But look at this. This is called insert word into sentence. So what do? I write some random paragraph first and then I put the caret sign, but it's not working. Why is it not working? Because these pens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are just pens. The last one is the special one. This is called editor pen. And because it's an editor pen, it also gives you track changes. So now I'm just going to enable track changes. And now I'm going to write this. This is like the caret sign, right? Caret sign means what? I have to write something on top of it. So it should insert. By the way, how does this work? Inserts a word. Now it has gone into writing mode. So now it will recognize the text. So that is how you can even do ink to text in Word. Now, of course, if you delete something, you just do this, it goes away. If you do this, it splits it and so on. So this is also very nice, useful stuff if you have a stylus. All right, let's go further. Now coming to other parts of our presentation. PowerPoint has many features which are new. Some of them are not new and so on. So let's look at from simplest or the oldest. In PowerPoint, what happens is if you have a PPT and you want to write something in it, make sure you are in the first slide of a new presentation. If you're on the second slide, this feature works differently. If you're on the first slide, it works differently. And it also is sensitive to the design template. So if you want to use this feature properly, you must first create a blank new presentation. So I'm going to close this. Even if this is blank, I've already done something with it. I just go to PowerPoint, create a blank new presentation, absolutely blank. And now make sure you're on the first slide. We are using the default template and now you type what you want. This gives you absolutely amazing thing. There's a button called Design Ideas in Home tab as well as in the Design ribbon tab. Now, because it's the first slide of a new presentation, this is treated very specially. And generally, you will get the first suggestion as a video. Now, of course, this video may not be very nicely visible on a live event, but these are really good videos designed to be very small in size, eye-catching in size, and perfect for first slides. If you had done this on the second slide of something, this would not have come as a suggestion. So what does this do? Not only has it created the video and animated it and all that, if you look at the slide master, notice it has not done much of changes. Now, depending on the suggestion it is giving, it can do various other things. For example, this was primarily the video, but notice now it has given ideas in video itself. So if I go to this, for example, notice what happened now. It picked up a color which was matching from the picture. It picked up a font which is matching. It put a design element which has gone into the master. The theme of that, the color theme, is coming from the picture. And for those who understand PowerPoint color theme means 10 colors. The first one is foreground background. This is reverse of this, that is the dark mode by foreground background, and then accent colors. So it has actually created all those colors based on this picture. Similarly, it has picked up the correct fonts, theme fonts. This is not a regular PowerPoint design, and all this it did automatically, and it's AI in absolute action. Now, this is just one example. There can be many things, but to save time, I'm just going to show you as what I typed and what I got. So that way we can get more variety and understand how it works and also save time in the process. So I'll give you some examples of what it does. So what I wrote just now was cat, and obviously it gave me a cat, nothing special. I wrote oil. It actually found a proper royalty free picture of an oil rig, correctly cropped it, fitted it and all that. But that's not all. Now, obviously, what do you expect in this case? It will find a proper plane picture, and hopefully it will find a small plane. Obviously, what else do you expect? Nothing, right? But it does more. How does it do more? It did find a picture. It properly put it and it wrote this on its own. This in communication theory or in infographics field, these are called perspectives. So if you just randomly throw a number at people, they may not be able to understand how big or small that number is. So how high is 16,000 feet? That is what it is, making it easier for the audience to understand. So now if I had written 32,000, it would have said height of Mount Everest. If I had said some other thing, it would have found some other mountain which is popular. So these are called perspectives. Without you doing anything, this guy is helping you communicate better. Here is another one. I just wrote some big number of minutes. Yes, everyone can see the number, but how much time is that? It's an obvious question. So it converted it to actual time, which people can understand. So now it's saying, oh, it's 2.5 months, like that. And that's not all. Even for other aspects of slide creation or design, it helps. Here, I have written too many words. It's a bulleted list. It's like a timeline. So it understands that, and it actually created a sort of a timeline. Of course, it's not proportionate. It's not looking at the year and deciding the gap that between 2015 there are 5 years and 15 and 17 2 years. Maybe that will also come soon, but it's still better than just writing as bullets or converting it to a routine smart art. Let's try one more. So what do we have here? We have task time. Now in this case, there are no numbers. There doesn't seem to be any sort of correlation in terms of step 1, step 2 also. So what does it do now? So remember, it has a collection of stock images. One of the kinds of stock images which are available is called icons. SVG, modern looking icons. There are around 1,300 when I counted last. So it picks up the right icons based on what you have written. And if you change it, it'll allow you to change it as well. So if you write something else, it'll try to find the icon again. So these design ideas are not static. If you change the content, they will also try to find ideas. So that's how it works. Another one. This is a very common problem. We keep adding pictures. And then we spend half our life changing, cropping and aligning. It's a waste of life. So remember, when you're working, think, am I using my hands or am I using my brain? If I'm using my hands and brain is idle, that means your process is inefficient. Generally, that means that is a use case for the creator of the software. In this case, Microsoft, but anywhere else also. That's how features are born. So if you have a need, there has to be a solution. So in one click, design ideas, it arranged all this for me. But even that is not all. What happens now? Maybe I forgot to add a picture. No problem. I added another picture. So it thought again and arranged them. As of now, 6 is the limit, but it is going to grow. And with some jugglery, you can also increase the limit. Now, if design ideas button is there, but design ideas are not coming, that means your template is not compatible. Or you have typically what we do is add a slide and delete the placeholders. It's not going to work there. So if your template has something abnormal, design ideas will not work. Now, when you start using design ideas, there is one more best practice which I will show you. Sometimes we are trying different things. So let's say I'm trying something here and I found some good picture. So now what happens? I don't know what picture I'm going to get. So let's try. OK, I found this, I found this, I found this. Let's say I want to keep this picture for future, but for this PPT, I don't need it. So make it a habit. If you find something useful, create a PPT of interesting pictures and keep them with you so that you don't have to search for them again. Of course, these are available in stock pictures typically, but some of them are not. So create your own collection. Around 45 nice videos are also available as a part of this AI system. So that is about design ideas. So Excel has data ideas, PowerPoint has design ideas, and Word editor has ideas for improving your communication or writing. So all three products are actually having AI built in and making our life easier. OK, let's go further. What else is there in PowerPoint? PowerPoint has another brilliant feature which I can actually show you here itself. Many times nowadays we are doing sessions at global level because of everything being online. Many times you are working here, but you have customers which are in other countries. So if they don't understand your language, we have a brilliant option called you go to the slideshow menu and subtitles. There are multiple spoken languages supported. English India, if you are using, use English India. Hindi as a spoken language is also supported. OK, so what? Now, the second thing you will do is let's say you have a Japanese customer or a French customer or a German customer. You choose their language as the output language. In this case, I'm going to use Hindi as the output language. OK. Don't use this option. Sometimes when you don't want them, subtitles will start. So keep this checkbox unselected. Now, when I start presenting, let's see what happens. No subtitles are coming. Why? Because we have said don't use subtitles by default. So now you right click and say start subtitles. Now whatever I'm speaking is going to AI cognitive services. It's analyzing it live and translating it for us in Hindi. Now because I said live, it said G1, but then it listened to me again and then it corrected G1 to something else. Look at it, how it is working. Of course, many of you are developers. This is cognitive services behind the scene. The audio stream is going there and you are getting live data back. But look at the implementation. It's quite good. As we start using it more and more, it becomes even better because it's machine learning. I don't think it is keeping your voice profile, but still overall, as more people use it, it improves. OK. Try to use this. I use it all the time in real life situations, not just for demos. When I'm talking to customers who are not particularly good with English. Even if the translation is a little funnier, they will understand you better than them struggling to translate your accent and your English to their native language. If nothing else, some jokes are cracked in the process. Now, as though this is not enough, there is another brilliant feature which is currently available only on browser. So even if you have Office 365 desktop version, this particular feature is available on browser only as of now. Hopefully it will come soon on desktop. So that feature also I will show you, but because that feature requires interactivity, I'm going to show it to you as slides. So give me a second to switch the slide. That particular feature was recently introduced. It's called Present Live. It's an extension to the translator app, but brilliantly implemented. So open any presentation which is on Teams or on OneDrive or on SharePoint. You can open them on browser. Go to the slideshow menu. In fact, there are three options there which use AI. Subtitles we have already seen. What we are seeing now is Present Live, and third one is Rehearse with Coach. All these are AI based. So when you go to Present Live, you can choose whether it's authenticated users or anonymous. Now, next one, before it starts the presentation, it generates a QR code and a short URL. What does it do now? So your audience can scan this QR code or type this in any browser. Remember, your audience does not need any kind of Microsoft subscription. If you said anonymous, they don't need PowerPoint also. They don't need any app to be installed, just internet and browser. Now what happens? You start presenting, you start talking. What will they see? They will see on their mobile something like this. I have put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mobile screens here for a purpose. So by default, it will be in the native English language. So what have I said? Now whatever I'm saying is being translated. You can change the language while you're watching. Now remember, your audience may be mixed. Someone is in Tamil, someone is in Japanese, someone is Hindi, someone is in German, someone is in Chinese. This is live translation in up to 65, I think is the last count languages. So this goes one step beyond the previous feature which I showed you. This is available even in the browser only versions, if I remember correctly. So this is brilliant if you have multilingual audience. Many of you do events where most events are global and you may have invitees from other countries. This is a brilliant feature to use. Now remember, this feature was originally designed for in-person presentations. Why? Because you're physically in front of the audience and they are just scanning your QR code from the projector. If you do this in a live scenario, what you are talking by itself is not reaching people because there is no audio there. So you can use this like this in Teams or Zoom or whatever, also as a workaround in a multilingual scenario in today's world. So this is present live. Also notice there is a rating option available and there are some icons available. These icons or these emoticons people can keep touching. So you also will see whether people are liking it or bored or confused while you are presenting. And you will see a summary at the end of it. It also captures ratings like this in the same app. Notice this is not a special app, it's just a browser based thing. So this is a beautiful feature which is AI based. Now another feature which is AI based is Coach. I will try to demonstrate it to you live and see whether it works. If it doesn't, then I will show you screenshots. In order to use that feature, of course, you need browser based version. Actually, I just saw it has been recently added to PowerPoint, but in this case, I will show it to you on browser. In fact, we can try it here itself. Let me open a presentation which has some base content and then we will try it. OK. Let me try it on browser because I have another presentation running. So let me bring the browser here, go to PowerPoint, start any presentation. And when you start presentation, what happens? Slideshow menu, and then it will show you presentation codes. So this is something not to be done in front of the audience. You do it to improve your public speaking. Just hold on. All right. So when you go to slideshow menu, you use rehearse with coach. So it says, OK, go ahead and start talking. Now it is not just looking at what you're speaking. It says start rehearsing and you will get real time feedback. So I'll try to do a really bad presentation. So please bear with me. Now what it is doing is it is listening to whatever I am saying and analyzing not just the content, but many things in my presentation. Sometimes we are not confident. So notice what it did. If I am saying monotonous, it's saying change the pitch, saying it is noticing that also. Like that, it actually tries to understand how good or bad you are doing things, and then it tries to give you live feedback. So let me try this one. So ROI of this session, 20-minute time saving, eye strain, collaboration. Generally it works with bullets, but let's try. So I go on and on like this. There's a phone, chat, video conference, file sharing, meetings, email, live streaming. OK, enough. So now when you finish, it gives you a nice report like this. This is invaluable. Many of us who are techies may not be very good at speaking correctly. The content is good, knowledge is good, but ability to speak and communicate is a problem. So it gives you this. What exactly appears in this report depends on what mistakes you did, but it's a great way to improve your life. You shouldn't just do it once to test the feature. Genuinely try it out with a real PPT, with a real content, as though you are presenting. This gives you very good functionality. Look at this pace as well as pitch. So this is the voice quality and this is the speed, number of words per minute. It's brilliant. Filter words basically hello like that. And very important, once you do this, you will understand your mistakes, correct them, use the same PPT, try it again. You will see how you're improving. So this is genuinely value adding kind of stuff right within PowerPoint. All right, let's go further. Let me just have a look at how many questions. Do we have any questions? Okay, 8 questions. No questions. All right. Can I convert audio into DAX? Yeah, you can use dictation feature and convert, but it's not going to be perfect. Voice to programming is not yet evolved, I think. Probably Tendulkar can tell you more, or Vikram or Mahesh. But anyway, I'll just finish my content and then take questions. Yeah, Mahesh, you are saying something?
Yes, doctor. I have a question here. The feature which you just explained about analysis of the presentation. Does this work for a live session? Like right now you are presenting, it is my live session to my customer and I want to keep something on at back which can give me a report after my session.
Yeah, the problem is this feedback is real time. OK, so what happens is when I say start rehearsing this window, I can move to another screen if I want to. Right, I'm trying to do that. I have not tried it before.
Okay.
I'm trying to move this window to another screen, but that doesn't seem to work. So it will keep showing the feedback to your audience also, which is a bad idea.
Yeah. Right.
So no.
Okay. Thank you.
This is on the browser version. Try it out on the desktop version. If you see the button, maybe that window it allows you to move. But even if it does, those sounds of warnings are also going to come, which may be a problem. And if you are trying to improve your presentation while you are presenting, then you're a difficult case to solve anyway.
Not for improvements. It's own feedback which I can check later after my presentation, which can help me to improve my next presentation. So from that
Yeah,
angle, I was.
I know, but that window and the intrusive noise thing will be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Check if there is an API version of it which you can do a little bit of programming and do it internally rather than invoking it from that button maybe. Because finally all this is going to cognitive, right?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? OK, let's go further. Outlook also has editor, by the way, so Word is the email editor for Outlook. So everything I talked about Word is available in Outlook. Outlook recently introduced autocomplete as well by using a part of Project Cortex. It analyzes the way you write, and even if it's a long sentence, it tries to autocomplete it. Just press tab. It'll give you the same autocomplete sentence. Typically, autocomplete used to be for words. Now it is for entire sentences. Just press tab and it autofills. But I would say the most important thing in the context of Outlook, which has really used AI properly, is the insights. So Outlook has insights features. If you have properly enabled it, you will see something called Cortana daily briefing coming to your inbox. Oh, I said Cortana, so my Cortana woke up, but never mind. So what? So Cortana daily briefing actually analyzes your day-to-day mails, looks at what you probably have promised to people, and these are not formal tasks. You have not put them in Outlook tasks, nor have you put them anywhere else. So notice what it is saying. It has just scanned my emails, so there is no privacy issue. Those email text always has been lying on Exchange server. So kindly help us execute this in November 21st, whatever. So it's asking you, this looks like a task to me. Have you already done it, or do you want to add it to do? Amazing feature, because many times in the flow of replying to mails and all that, we promise things, people have asked us something, but it doesn't register in our life as a task and we forget to do it. And probably the other party also forgets and lost opportunity. So all these, if you look at it, there is an underlying principle which I will explain. What is the purpose of AI? So this, if you have not enabled, make sure you enable it as soon as possible. If you're not getting these emails, you go to your Office 365 admin or tenant and you go to settings and enable Cortana for the organization. Only then this happens, and it takes a couple of days or weeks. I don't know exactly how many, but it takes some time to figure out and then start giving you suggestions. This comes daily in the morning to your inbox. Don't put it in spam. Don't put it in other folder. Make sure you see it. This is really useful. Now, in Outlook, there has been a feature which is not really considered or discussed in the same breath when we say AI, but I'm going to show you that because that is AI. Actually, probably I would say was the earliest implementations of AI in the context of Outlook. Although people still don't understand that it is AI, but that's OK as long as they understand how to use it properly. And most people don't know how to use it properly, and that is not OK. So what do I mean by that? The feature is called other folder. So what does that mean? All of us have noticed that there is a focused and other folder, and we are aware that some mails go automatically to other folder. And initially you have some confusion, but later on we forget about it. So it's important to understand what is that other folder? How does Outlook decide what goes to other? And if it's automatic, what is my role? Is there anything I have to do actively? So first, other folder does not mean spam or junk. It means less important mails. So spam, junk, phishing, quarantine, all those are already handled at your messaging server level. This is not another spam. This is kind of mail which Outlook has learned based on the observation of the algorithm observing you handling your mail on a daily basis. It has learned your pattern of responding to mails. So which mails you respond to immediately, which mails you respond at least on a daily basis, which mails you don't look at all, which mails you open, close, but don't respond. That kind of behavioral analysis is going on in the algorithm. What happens at the end of it, like spam filter or junk filter creates a score. Similarly, it creates a score, but that score is not spam or not. It is important or not. So if it is important, it stays in the focus folder. If it's less important, then it is automatically put in the other folder. If you're getting confused with it, you can always go to View tab and say don't show me focused inbox, in which case this goes away. Internally, it's just a flag or a field. So it's just artificial divide here. But practically, what does it mean? Practically, the way we handle mails and the amount of non-important mails we receive, 30 to 40% of your usual workload, which would otherwise be landing in inbox itself, automatically is going to other. It takes a couple of weeks to stabilize and it keeps on learning. So the question is, if it's already happening well, what do I have to do actively? Let it work silently and life is good. I am handling 30% mails less manually. Agreed. But remember, machine learning, like any other software, is not perfect. There will be false positives. So if there is a false positive, what happens? In practical terms, what does a false positive mean here? It means there is a mail which is actually important to me, but the system thought it is less important and it went to other. And what do I do to mails in other? I just don't look at them. What does that mean? An important mail is not getting my attention. So that's a problem. So what do? You don't do anything much. If you saw earlier, the mails which were recently moved to other, their senders list was here. Just start noticing that every day. Don't have to click on that. So if you find some sender which you think should not have gone to other, then click on the other folder. So let's say this particular sender, a PUG for example, should not have gone to other. It's important to me. And machine learning has learned wrongly. So I need to teach the machine learning. How do I do that? Right click. Now remember, the right click menu is scrolling nowadays in Outlook, but never mind. So that's because I have increased the scaling. There are two options here and most people don't even notice them. And even if they notice them, they don't understand the difference between them. Yes, I need to do something about this mail to tell this machine learning system that this was a mistake. This classification of marking it as other means less important was a mistake. Now the question is this particular email from PUG a mistake or any email from PUG a mistake? That is the differentiation here. So if you just say move to other, this particular mail is going to go. Sorry, I should be on other and assume this was an important mail and it landed in other. I want to teach the system. So now if only this instance of the mail I want to move to inbox, then I say move to focus. That's more like an exception. But if this was a mistake for this sender or this type of mail in general, so none of the future mails should come to other. That's more like a rule. Then you say always move to focus. So remember, this is an exception. Otherwise, it's OK. Only this one I want. And this is a rule. Exception, rule. So that's how you use the other folder in practice. And the reverse is also true. Some mails which are not important are landing here. You right click there and say always move to other. Don't do it every day, once a week is fine. So that's about Outlook other folder. Now let's see if there is anything else important and otherwise we'll finish and take questions. OK, there is another feature called remove background, which also uses AI, and that's a very old feature. Whether it actually uses AI or not is not important, but it internally does use a very nice algorithm and it is very useful. And many of you create graphics for social media, for blogs and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you that as the last feature and then we will summarize and then we will finish. So let me just show you that feature. It's called remove background. Probably I've used it earlier, but there are some nuances which you should know. So I'm going to put some sample picture there and then we will go from there. Remove background is available in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, everywhere. OK, let me find a picture, insert. Let's try the airliner. So let's take one of the planes and see what happens. Let's take a plane with a more complex background. Now I don't want the clouds. What do? Picture format, remove background. It automatically tries to analyze the contents of the picture and then it tries to do a good job. The magenta color is the one which is going to be removed, but it's not perfect. By the way, when I said it arranges pictures using design ideas, it's not just looking at the pictures, it's looking at the contents. If there was a face, it will make sure the face doesn't get cut off. So there is AI going on behind the scenes. You also saw it put the alt text automatically. But this part is not perfect. So what do? So we have two options. You can say mark areas to keep and mark areas to remove. So that AI needs your assistance basically. So I'm going to say mark areas to keep. Now your cursor becomes a pencil. With a mouse, you can't really draw perfect shape, but that is not even expected. Just draw somewhere in that and it's quite intelligent and generally does a good job. It's just for PowerPoint, so a few pixels are remaining here and there. It's not a problem, but it has done a fairly good job. The only problem with this is anything which has shadows and the item casting shadows itself is black, then obviously it gets confused. Even Photoshop gets confused there, so it's not a problem. So typically anything which has vehicles is a problem, which has tires. Otherwise, this works beautifully. And you can do a lot of innovative stuff using this. So that's remove background. So if you notice, there are so many things we saw, all of them infused AI. Now, many of you create YouTube videos, many of you create other things, and these videos require captions. So I'll show you one last demo and then we will take questions. There is a site called videoindexer.ai, which is basically sort of a demo site for Azure Cognitive. So go there, sign in. Even if you sign in using free account, it's OK. Now, what does it give you? This is really good for video SEO. If you're putting stuff in YouTube, having captions increases the chances of better ranking. So what do? Upload your video here. It also accepts audio files if you want. And then what do? You have click on a particular video, for example, and what does it do? It understands multiple languages. So let me just take one of them. Just upload it and leave it alone. It gives you 2400 minutes per month free. And then it actually analyzes and gives you not only transcript, it also gives you many different kinds of insights, including storyboard, captioning, scenes, people, labels, and of course it gives you a JSON file also if you like. But for YouTube, it gives you all kinds of PTT files or TTML, whatever you want. And remember, if you have multilingual translations, it increases ranking even further. So the same thing now can be translated into 65 languages. Some little bit of improvement will be required, but remember, you can't possibly have knowledge of more than 2 or 3 languages. So you can actually translate it into other languages if your audience is in other countries without having to pay someone for the translation. So this is a really important opportunity for creating these kind of translation files very quickly. It understands audio as well. So bottom line, everything we do, AI is becoming a part of it. And the whole idea of this is without AI also most of this work is happening. But because we are wasting time and losing opportunities, now we are saving time and getting more opportunities. So whatever we do, we can do better, faster, smarter, and that's how you will grow in your life. So that's it. We will take questions. Let me show you a thank you slide at the end of it. Okay, I have a feedback form as well. I'll post that link. And now we'll take questions. Any questions, Mahesh?
Not yet, doctor. We'll just wait for a minute. There is a slight delay in live broadcasting. We have one question.
Yeah, sure. Just give me a second. I'll show you the last slide and then we'll go. Okay. So I've also created a special page for people who are attending this session. Go there. There are some downloads and some relevant blog articles I put there. I'm also conducting a session tomorrow on Excel, Power BI, and the AI parts of both of them. If you want, you can join that session as well. I will paste the link for that soon, but let me first take questions. OK, let me go to questions and see. Just tell me the timestamp. Where should I go? OK, how did you get to video indexer? Video indexer.ai. Any other pending question which I have not noticed?
No, doctor.
OK, so shall we call it a day?
Yes. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, everyone, for joining this call. We'll see you on next Saturday, same time. See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care.